I'm Laura Ingraham, and this is the Ingraham Angle from San Francisco tonight. Thanks for being with us. Shameless, not blameless. That's the focus of tonight's angle. Now, the trail of death along the border is something that's become so commonplace, and our inability to prevent the spillover into the United States, it's so overwhelming that I worry that we've almost become numb to it. It plays out like its own twisted daily drama. We see all the stories, and it's where Hollywood depictions aren't far off from reality.
No way! Hey! Welcome to...
Well, things aren't just breaking bad during the Biden years. They're breaking worse, all because he refused to live up to what he promised us.
I, Joseph Robinette Biden Jr., do solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States, will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States.
Now, what duties is he faithfully executing when he's allowed this to happen?
Immigration attorney Saman Nasseri says San Diego's border is going to be seeing a lot more of this as the end of Title 42 is looming.
I think you're going to see maybe close to 20 to 30% more people come to the border in the coming weeks just to take advantage of what's in place.
And what exactly is Biden preserving and protecting and defending when his refusal to secure our border leads to the scourge of fentanyl pouring in from Mexico?
My son was a casualty of this war. He was a 19-year-old brilliant boy stolen by fentanyl. His name is Tucker Rowe.
More than 600 people a year have recently died from accidental overdoses in San Francisco, the vast majority from fentanyl.
I'm angry. I'm heartbroken for the families that have lost children. This should have got addressed a long time ago.
3 of El Chapo's sons were just indicted by the feds, along with 25 others, for running a massive fentanyl smuggling operation as part of the Sinaloa cartel. So my question tonight is, who voted for any of this? Now, I don't recall our hologram candidate in 2020 campaigning on his mission to create absolute anarchy at our southern border. And remember, it is poisoning our cities with drugs and crime. From Baltimore, where 5 individuals were arrested for operating a fentanyl drug trafficking operation, to all the way up in Auburn, Maine, where a whopping $3 million worth of the same drug was intercepted after being shipped in a package from Arizona to a local restaurant. And where I am here in San Francisco, the fentanyl problem is so bad, they're calling in the California National Guard.
We need to do everything we can to provide all of the resources so that we have the capacity to handle a problem of this magnitude.
Yeah, Democrats like Mayor London Breed aren't pointing the finger at those to blame in national leadership. Of course not. Ditto with Chicago's Lori Lightfoot. Now, a few days ago, she had the nerve to try to blame the huge number of migrants flowing into the Windy City on the state of Texas, as in Governor Greg Abbott. Now, in this brazen letter, she wrote, "Your lack of consideration or coordination in any attempt to cause chaos and score political points has resulted in a critical tipping point. We simply have no more shelters, spaces, or resources to accommodate an increase of individuals." Well, of course, if she were an honest person, which she is not, her letter should have been addressed to Biden, Mayorkas, and her own Senator Dick Durbin. Instead, she headed to CNN.
We are completely tapped out. We have no more space, no more resources. I'm solely compassionate to the fact that the borders are themselves really overrun, but you don't solve that problem by simply sticking people on buses to a city that they didn't ask to come to for an uncertain future, and now where we are literally full. Wait,
you're literally full? So should Texas hold all the illegals? Plus, they're not full. Companies and people are fleeing Chicago by the thousands. And that's because of her terrible pro-criminal policies, not Greg Abbott. And speaking of brazen, this gal's burning up.
When it comes to illegal migration, you've seen it come down by more than 90%, and that's because of the actions that this president has taken. Republicans have continued to use this as a political stunt, a political tool, and not actually come to the table to have a conversation on how to protect dreamers. They want to do political stunts, as we've seen from governors and mayors across the country.
Now, circling the welcome wagon for Lori and Joe and the whole gang. Of course she is. Now, she said it's down 60%. What's down 90%? Optimism about our future among our people? Their policies produce the highest influx of illegals in U.S. history. The mass murder over the weekend of 5 people, including an 8-year-old boy by an illegal alien, Francisco Oropesa, who's been deported, by the way, 5 times between 2009 and 2016. It's just another stark reminder that illegal immigration is not now and never has been a victimless crime. Oropesa is still on the loose, by the way. Now, Democrats not only have no remorse for these deadly policies, they don't just try to turn the tables. No, they try to change the subject. It's language that's the real threat to America, as in when Greg Abbott described many of the victims as illegal immigrants as well.
The callousness, the inhumanity of it all really is breathtaking.
It's not surprising coming from Governor Abbott.
Instead of the basic humanity, he felt the need to label them.
The humanity of it, that compassionate, an open border is the most uncompassionate thing you could do. Thank you very much. Now, in the regime media, of course, they're always there for the assist, always.
The alleged suspect, Francisco Oropesa. There is some question about his citizenship. He supposedly had I guess they referred to it as a consulate card from Mexico, meaning he was here legally, but perhaps he had overstayed?
So, Chuck, I won't comment on it because it is an active case.
Oh, I bet he didn't want to comment on it. But every now and then, Chuck Todd will really shock you and actually ask a decent question.
What's the definition of secure border to you?
It is, in the context in which we are working, it is maximizing the resources that we have available to us to deliver the most effective results.
Effective? Well, I've got to say, an open border, after all, is their goal. So they wanted an open border, we got an open border. So to them, their policies are effective. Now, I've been covering this illegal immigration issue since I first started in the media back in 1996. I was working for CBS, believe it or not, back then. And that was when a Democrat president actually did show that he cared somewhat about this issue of the border. Bill Clinton launched this thing called Operation Gatekeeper. And 2 years earlier, that's when it happened, in 1994. And both parties back then, at the time, saw the damage that illegal immigration was doing to Southern California. The Angle believes nothing has done more to convince people in Middle America that their so-called leaders are hostile to them than this issue. So whenever we talk about the elites, you always wonder, what's the elites or the establishment? Whatever term you want to use to describe the uniparty that includes both Joe Biden and Liz Cheney, you're talking about people who believe in open borders. And that alliance includes virtually all the media and throw big business in as well. And by the way, none of them care that Americans overwhelmingly do not want open borders. And overwhelmingly, they blame the federal government for creating this current mess. I know it's easy to get demoralized out there, and I get it, but this is no time for anyone to throw up their hands. It's time to vote, and early, or vote on Election Day. But vote you must. Because these people in power, they want you to be demoralized. As they sit idly by while our country is being poisoned, they're not blameless, they're shameless. And it's time to deport them from politics once and for all. And that's The Angle.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.